ever wondered why some people seem to have a gift for music? Have you ever wished that you could play by ear, sing in tune, improvise and jam? You're in the right place. Time to turn those wishes into reality. Welcome to the Musicality Podcast with your host, Christopher Sutton.
Today we're going to be talking about teachers, coaches and mentors and the role each can play in your musical journey. This is picking up on something Andy Wasserman said in our recent interview about the distinction between an instructor and a mentor, and the way he talked about the huge impact his mentors specifically had had on him. These three words, teacher, coach, and mentor, don't have universally accepted fixed definitions, and so the three are often blurred together. You'll encounter teachers who actually provide a lot of coaching too, or mentors who are happy to act more as a coach, and so on. And within each of these three categories, there are a few important distinctions to be aware of too. So, like with our recent episodes about the word tone, it's helpful to have a clear definition of each in mind, so that when you encounter the words being used out in your musical life, you have the mental model to make sure you understand what the person means by that word, and clarify with them if you need to. So why are we talking about this on the Musicality podcast? Well, because aside from talking specifically about musicality skills, we are also all about taking ownership of your musical life and being aware of all the possibilities available to you, not just the rigidly defined status quo that you might have encountered so far. So I'm hoping that by talking through these three roles, you'll have your mind opened up a bit to some new options that might be exciting for you. And you'll feel more clear and confident when people talk about teaching or coaching or mentoring in music in future. Now, I'm not going to be saying that mine are the only correct definitions or that anyone else is wrong with how they use these words. But hopefully by providing you with one clear set of definitions, it means that when you go out there and encounter people using the words in various ways, you'll be equipped to pick apart what they actually mean. For example, is this teacher actually providing you with useful coaching too? Or do you need to find one who can? Does this person who's offering to mentor you actually have in mind more teaching than mentoring? Or is what you need to move your music and your musicality forwards now more teaching, more coaching, or more mentoring? Does that sound good? Let's get started. So overall, I think one really helpful way to think about all this is a teacher helps you with knowledge, explanations, and skills. A coach helps you with performance or effectiveness. And a mentor helps you with your identity, who you're choosing to become. So let's start out with teachers. So I think we're all pretty familiar with the idea of a teacher or instructor in music, but as we'll be talking about, that role of teacher can often get blurred with coaching and mentoring. And in this age where a YouTube video or an online course might be playing the part of teacher for you, it's important to understand what a teacher should be providing and what's actually beyond the role of a teacher. I believe teaching is about developing knowledge, understanding, and skills. The value you receive from a teacher is generally going to be in them telling you facts or explaining concepts or giving you feedback about what you're doing to guide you through learning specific concrete skills. In music, we often separate music teachers into two groups: an instrument teacher, who is providing instruction, normally one-on-one, on how to play an instrument, and a music teacher, who is teaching music in a broader way, normally in a classroom environment, and more often for children than for adults. Your instrument teacher may well explain some music theory along the way, and a music teacher will often be teaching some instrument skills to support what they're covering in a music theory sense. But unfortunately, as we've covered many times here on the podcast before, both types of music teaching often neglect what I see as the third vital area. Alongside instrument skills and music theory, there are ear skills, and more broadly, musicality as a whole. There are some types of music teacher who will always include these, and the big established systems which we've mentioned here on the podcast before are Kodai, in our episode with Jimmy Rotherham, Orff, in our episode with David Rao, and Dalcroze in our episode with Jeremy Dittus. There are also many music schools or independent teachers who will put a focus on musicality skills alongside instruments and music theory, such as past guest Casey McCann of the Eclectic Music School in Atlanta, and the Let's Play Music program, whose founder Shelley Solberg was also a past guest on the show. We'll have links in the show notes to those episodes if you want to know more about each of those approaches which do feature musicality strongly. I was very fortunate myself to have some amazing music teachers and instrument teachers growing up, but looking back, the musicality side was terribly neglected, and now, when I'm making decisions about music education for my daughters, I'm better informed about what will empower them in their musical life. So, for example, with my 2-year-old, I didn't just choose a fun and entertaining music class for her. I specifically sought out one that would be fun and based on solid Kodai principles, so that she'll be learning the inner skills of music along the way, and putting in place an amazing foundation for her musical life in future. So, clearly music teaching can take a variety of forms, but it's all about transferring the knowledge, understanding, and abilities. And I think it's helpful to ask yourself, is the teaching also covering the big three of instrument skills, music theory, and ear skills or musicality? So that's teaching. What about coaches? Well, coaching is, I think, the least well-defined of these three roles. In my experience, there are two distinct types of coaching you'll encounter. The first is common in the worlds of sports or acting, where essentially the highest level teachers start to work on mindset and psychology, as well as skill development, and they are now called a coach instead of a teacher. For example, a tennis coach may well be doing drills with you to fix a problem with your backhand, but they'll also be taking you through the mental game to prepare you for a big match. This mindset side of things is getting into what I said defined coaching, that it's about performance or effectiveness, making sure you can actually follow through with the best possible version of the skills you've learned. The value you receive from this type of coach is making sure that all the preparation you've done learning skills with a teacher actually pays off for you in the moment when it comes time to perform. And naturally, there's an extra dimension to that when the coach is coaching a whole team and doing both teaching and coaching to help the team work well together. The second type of coaching is common in the worlds of business or personal development, where it's actually very clearly defined by professional bodies. The value you receive from a coach of this type is in reflecting back what you've said or done so that you can see it objectively, and also asking powerful questions to help move your thinking forward or get you past sticking points. I consider myself to be a fairly clear-thinking and self-aware person, but I know that when I've worked with a coach of this type, it's let me unravel confusion and spot new opportunities vastly better than just trying to work through it all alone. So those two roles are both called coaches, and I think the common factor is that it's about performance. The first type, the sports or acting coach, will often be doing some teaching too. The second type generally won't. They're there to draw information and insights out from you rather than providing them themselves. Generally speaking, I think coaching in music tends to fall into the first category, where a coach will help you with the performance side of being a musician and the mental game of it all, but might also be acting as your teacher for advanced level skills. The final role is that of mentor. I think culturally we all have a rough understanding of what a mentor is. It's a person we see as a role model for us, and with whom we have a relationship, so that we can actually learn directly from them, not just admire them from afar. Often we assume they'll be mentoring for free out of the goodness of their heart, and generally that's because mentors are often substantially older than you and may not be working anymore themselves. But paid mentoring is also common in certain arenas and can get you access to people who you don't have any personal relationship with to begin with. The value a mentor provides is in sharing their own wisdom and experience and offering their opinion on your best course of action. They're probably not going to be telling you facts and explaining things the way a teacher does, or working through performance or mindset challenges with you like a coach. But by sharing their own experience or opinions, they can help you see how to replicate their success in your own way. In music, mentoring most often happens for the career side of things. If you're wanting to be a professional musician, or you are already and want more career success, or perhaps you're a recording artist wanting to break into the music industry, then often a mentor can help guide you based on their own experiences of becoming successful. But mentoring can happen outside the professional world too. For example, many people choose to take instrument lessons with a particularly impressive performer, and that person is acting as a bit of a mentor as well as a teacher. And one thing I should mention is that mentoring can happen sideways too, in the sense of peer mentoring. For example, I'm good friends with other online music education experts like Scott Devine from Scott's Bass Lessons, the biggest bass guitar learning website in the world, or Tim Topham, who runs one of the best sites for online piano teachers to become more creative in their teaching, or Steve Nixon, who runs freejazzlessons.com, a really popular website for jazz piano, and who's been a guest on the show before. And I wouldn't consider any of them a mentor as such, but we've certainly had conversations which fit that mentor model, where they're not teaching me or coaching me, but I'm learning a ton from their experience and wisdom. So I just wanted to note that. Don't assume that mentoring has to happen from an older, wiser, official mentor figure. Look for mentoring from anybody you admire, who might be right alongside you in their overall journey, but further ahead in certain aspects. Okay, so that's teachers, coaches, and mentors. All three of these roles can be impactful for your musical life. We're all very familiar with the role of music teacher, but are they an instrument teacher, or a music teacher, or a bit of both? Where does learning musicality skills, like we cover on this podcast, fit into the picture? If you're learning your instrument, music theory, or ear training from resources rather than from a person in live lessons, how well are those resources filling the role of teacher? We said teaching was about sharing facts, explaining concepts, and giving feedback on what you're doing to help improve your skills. Are you getting all three of those things? Is your teacher, whether a person or a set of resources, also providing some coaching or mentoring? Do you want a coach at this stage? Someone who can help you get your head right for performances, or help you keep your mindset strong while working through the challenges of building a music career? Or perhaps what you need now is a mentor, and it's time to reach out to someone you look up to and see if you can accelerate your own journey with more success and less frustration by discovering exactly how they did what you want to do, and perhaps benefiting from their wisdom by asking for their opinion on your own plans. Often it makes sense to progress through drawing on each of these three roles. Certainly in music, but it goes for other areas of life too, such as career or personal development. Early on, you need a teacher to get the fundamental skills in place and begin your journey. Then, once you're up and running, you probably need some help operating at the best possible level with the skills you've learned. And over time, you find that you're working fine within your own abilities, but you could move further faster if someone else showed you which paths to follow or avoid. I think there is a natural sequence there, but it's definitely not strict. We should all be continually seeking to learn new skills from teachers, and sometimes good advice from a mentor or a powerful conversation or two with a coach can make sure you're on the right track from the beginning, so that the skills you're developing and the effort you're putting in aren't wasted, and they'll get you where you most want to go. Hopefully these definitions help you have a clear mental framework for thinking about these three roles. For example, at Musical U, I know it's really helpful for us to know that the core of what we provide is teaching. Our training modules provide information and explanation and practice material and feedback, and our team is on hand to provide the personal help to make sure that that all works well for each member. Our teaching focuses predominantly on the musicality skills, with a bit of music theory included along the way, and with our instrument pack option to help with the instrument skills if you want that too. Then coaching is something we offer as a separate service. We have a platinum coaching program providing high-level guidance for those who really want to improve quickly with the time they have available for their musicality training. It's for people who are already members of Musical U with access to our teaching, but who want coaching to help them be more effective and more successful in that learning journey. Actually, if I'm being fully honest, we do blur the lines a bit there and provide some teaching as needed in our platinum program. We're not going to be sitting there running interval drills with you on your coaching call, but if there's something you don't understand or you want to know, then our coaches are all musicality experts, and so they can provide the explanations you need to keep moving forwards. And at Musical U, we don't do mentoring. Members are welcome to connect with each other, and that may well lead to mentor-mentee relationships forming in the community, especially of the sideways mentoring type I mentioned earlier. But Musical U and the MU team are not there to mentor members. We offer teaching with personal support and optionally coaching too. And so that's really helpful for us to understand and have be clear for our team and for our members. I hope that talking through this has helped you to understand what each of these roles could offer you in your musical life and how they relate to each other. You'll often find the words and roles being interchanged or overlapped, and that's fine. But now you understand what each role can provide, so that if you are considering learning, or being coached, or adopting a mentor, you'll know what to expect and can get confirmation and clarification up front of what's going to happen. Of course, if what you're looking for is online teaching in musicality, then please do consider becoming a member of Musical U. We would love to help you. And I mentioned our Platinum Coaching program there. That's not something you'll find offered publicly. It's only available to existing members of Musical U. But if you're interested to know more, just drop an email to hello@musicalitypodcast.com and put Platinum Coaching in the subject line, and we'll get you some more details on that.
Thank you for listening to the Musicality Podcast. This episode has ended, but your musical journey continues. Head over to musicalitypodcast.com, where you will find the links and resources mentioned in this episode, as well as bonus content exclusive for podcast listeners. That's musicalitypodcast.com.